Hi everybody, this is Satyadev. In this presentation, I'm going to talk about Agile model, its benefits, its shortcomings. Now, here comes the Agile model. Now, as there are challenges in the waterfall model, there was a group of software engineers met together in Ohio in 2001, and they come up with something called Agile model. Agile is a software development model, came into existence in 2001. This is to overcome challenges surfaced while practicing waterfall model. Agile is more of a mindset or a belief system or a way of thinking. Agile doesn't say, okay, let's do this way, like that. It's not a framework or a process or a methodology. Agile, as I said, it's like a thought process or a value system. Agile is guided by 4 values and 10 principles and promotes continuous learning. In each of the I'm going to talk about 4 values from Agile model, and I'm going to compare against the waterfall model. Well, even though when there is a situation where Agile is much more preferred, it doesn't mean that waterfall model values are bad. But if we have to take one of them, means it has to be Agile model. Let's go through those values, and then we will see the principles of Agile model. Now, the first value is individuals and interactions. This is the Agile value. Whereas in waterfall model, we focus on processes and tools. So as I told you in the earlier slides, processes and documentation are very important in Agile. So whereas in the waterfall model, whereas in Agile, it focuses on individual interactions. So Agile doesn't prescribe siloed development. So it says developers should talk to testing team, security team, ops team. So it kind of gives clues to what is more required than just following fill a form, do the stuff or something like that. Then the next value, Agile value, is working software. Whereas when it comes to waterfall model, the most important thing is the documentation. From documentation, you can create everything. That is the thought process. Well, documentation is important, no doubt. But at the same time, if only documentation exists and the software that's created either not completely following documentation, half done, or violating documentation, then the documentation is useless. So Agile prescribes just needed documentation. It doesn't say no documentation. At the same time, it says whatever document that is necessary, that documentation only need to be done. It actually focuses on more software development than comprehensive, exhaustive documentation. The third value is customer collaboration. Opposite to waterfall model, Agile prescribes customers should interact with a development team more often, because contract signed by customer and the development team is good for legal purposes, but when it comes to usage, whatever the development team creates is not useful to customer, then there is a lot of money and there is no lot of effort, and the things get demoralized, right? So in that context, customer collaboration is preferred over contract negotiations. So collaboration versus contracts. The last one is responding to change over following to a strict plan. In waterfall model, we have seen like all these stages, analysis, design, and everything like followed in a pattern, like in a linear manner. Whereas in Agile model, even if a change happens before production, like maybe in 1 week before production, yes, that if there is a chance, we can incorporate. If it is a possibility, we could incorporate that, because what value that adds to the customer is more important than what we have agreed upon, right? So that's what the flexibility that Agile model provides, responding to change over following to a strict plan. So these are the Agile values over waterfall values. Let's see 12 principles of Agile model. The first principle of Agile is early and continuous delivery of valuable software. This is very, very important. Agile prescribes that the development of software and delivery of software should be in very short cycles, maybe 2 weeks to maximum 4 weeks. Should not be like months or years together. So that way, I think, and the software that is created should have a value add to the customer. It may not be a big software module, but it is a module that customer can quickly use and test and understand, okay, this is working for me, kind of stuff. The second principle is welcome requirement changes even late in the development. Even in the middle of development, if requirements are changed, the development should accept them and try to change it, because the development is done in short cycles. It is actually good and easy to incorporate changes in the middle, because this entire software is not built at a time, right? So that's the advantage, or the second principle of agile model. The third one is delivering working software frequently. Actually, this third one kind of follows the first one, continuous delivery of valuable software. So like for every 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, we have to keep delivering the software. That's what Agile prescribes. The fourth one is business people and developers must work together. This is very, very important, because there could be so many assumptions and misunderstanding from developer side, because they are technical people, whereas business people are not that technical. At the same time, they know the business value. So having multiple interactions with business developers will enhance the developers' knowledge on the business side, and that makes them to deliver a better product than agreed upon things. And then the next one is build projects around motivated individuals. This is another important thing that focuses on developers, where the team members who are there in the software development, they should be motivated, and they should have say, or they should have control on some of the aspects of the development. So that's what Agile prescribes. The next one is information delivered through face-to-face interaction, rather than documenting somewhere and asking somebody to go and look at it. If possible, just set up a small quick meeting of 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 30 minutes, then discuss face-to-face. Agile prescribes or suggests, encourages face-to-face interactions over putting documents somewhere and stuff like that. The next one is working software is the primary measure of progress. Now, progress is not something like we have completed 10% of this if we deliver feature. It's not about that. It's about how many iterations have been done on this piece of software, how useful it is to the customer. So it is not the agreed upon thing. It is about what value it is adding to the customer. Sometimes customer. That's what about the seventh principle. And the eighth principle is sustainable development with consistent pace. So the development, as Agile prescribes short cycles of development, the result that comes out of each cycle of development, which is like maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, should be kind of same. And it cannot be same in the beginning, but over a period of time it should be consistent and should be sustainable. That's what the Agile principle number 8 says. The ninth one is technical excellence in good performant quality products. So the product has to be, whatever software that is being done, it has to be refactored throughout the development process. So let's say a piece of software is delivered this time. Next time, if there are certain things that needs to be done better way, the next time should contain those changes. So it's like a continuous development of the software, not just adding features or for that attract customer. Make the software technically good, design is good, so that it non functional aspects like performance in those things should become better. The next one is less is more. So do not develop something for the future. Whatever that is required for customer now is what needs to be developed. Sometimes, in the waterfall model, people used to develop certain modules which are not useful at that time. Maybe you thinking that they could be useful in the future. That kind of thing should be avoided in Agile model. Just do what is needed for now. That's what the 10th principle is. The 11th one is self-organized team core functional knowledge. That means the team members should have equal knowledge, and they should have knowledge transfer among themselves. And again, devs should understand what QA thought process is. They don't need to do the QA. Similarly, QA doesn't need to do development job, but they understand where the code base is, how they are doing all that stuff, right? So that's what the 11th principle says. And the 12th and last principle is retrospection. After every regular interval of software delivery, there should be some time that should be allocated to retrospect on what is delivered in the last release, and have you made any progress? Are there any things that we have to fine tune? Are there any challenges? Are there any good things we did just to carry? So those are the Agile 12 Agile principles. Now, Values and principles are the things that are given by Agile. As I told in the beginning of Agile introduction, Agile doesn't prescribe any framework or anything like that. But based on Agile, there are certain frameworks that are created. And there are some of the following practices or frameworks or processes or methodologies that are used mostly in the software world. The two most important are Scrum and Kanban. Scrum actually used in a development kind of, it's like there's no rule written on the wall. It is like Scrum normally followed by development team and other teams, whereas Kanban followed by maintenance team, because Scrum actually prescribes 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks duration of deliveries, whereas Kanban it could be every day kind of bug fixing and stuff like that. So those two are the important frameworks that follow Agile principles and values. Other than those two, there is extreme programming, which prescribes pair programming, lean software development, which is used by Toyota, feature driven development, FDD, behavioral driven development, Crystal, Kaizen. So there are several frameworks available, but as I told, there are two important frameworks that I'm going to discuss in the later sessions. Those are Scrum and Kanban. Now let's see Agile model as a big picture. Now, if you can see, it almost looks like waterfall model, but I put a rectangle, dotted rectangle around all these things. Now, if you see, all the steps that are prescribed in waterfall model do happen, but in a very short cycle. That means Agile is nothing but waterfall in a very short time. So that's what pretty much is. That means, let's say let's say a team took like 2 weeks of iteration, like development cycle. Then within 2 weeks, the requirement analysis is done, design is done, development is done, testing is done, deployment is done, and if there are any bugs, they will be fixed after deployment. So the entire cycle gets done in 2 weeks time. Well, it may not do it for the big software. It will do it for small chunk of code that is delivered for those 2 weeks. And then again, based on the findings that can be fixed in this release or not, they will carry forward to the next one. So this is about Agile model as a picture at a high level. Now, is it Agile? So let's see the benefits of Agile. As I told earlier, Agile is really flexible. There is development flexibility. Unlike waterfall model, in Agile model, it's always possible to correct a problem found in one release and it can be fixed in next release, right? Requirement changes are accepted even late in the development, like I've been told earlier. Quick value realization. In Agile software development happens very frequently, and each frequent delivery provides value and customers can start using the software anytime based on the functionality available. So it's based on the value. It's not based on the complexity or based on what developers think. It is based on what is needed by the customer. That's how we develop in Agile model software is done. Now, early feedback. Well, customers start using the software within 2 weeks. That's a really good one, right? So with Agile, it's always possible to get feedback from stakeholders at a regular intervals. They may or may not, the actual customer may or may not see every 2 weeks, but at least for 1 month or 2 months, he or she can have a look at it and see, okay, this is going good, or can we give feedback rather than giving feedback after 1 year, right? So that's the major advantage over waterfall model. Quality, as I specified earlier, iterative development allows for ongoing improvements based on user feedback and testing. So it's like problems found in one version, one release can be fixed in another. I mean, the design can be changed in the next one. Continuous testing and integration, and the testing should happen in each and every iteration. So during delivery cycles, each reducing costly fixes later, right? So that's the advantage. Increased collaboration. So Agile fosters cross-functional teamwork, as told earlier, breaking down silos between developers, testers, and other roles. Daily stand-ups and other collaborative practices like pair programming, which is actually XP thing, enhance communication and alignments. There are more benefits and the enhanced customer collaboration. It's similar to early feedback, right? So customer, do attend sprint. If it is a Scrum framework, they call sprint. Every 2 weeks is called 2 or 3 or 4 weeks is called a sprint. The customer or our customer representative will be there in the sprint planning as well as sprint demo and retrospectives, right? So sprint demo, not retrospectives, sprint demos. So that means customers should be able to see how the planning is going on, how the delivery happens, right? So there is more collaboration, and if he has any inputs, he or she can give inputs in the planning meeting or the demo meeting. Reduced risk, because frequent iterations are happening, feedback is coming regularly. There is minimum risk of building the wrong product or missing requirements. Early identification of issues allows for course correction, and significant resource and don't need to be invested, something like that. So the next one is cost and time efficiency. But by prioritizing the high value features, based on the product backlog, Agile ensures that resources focus on the the things that are important to the customers most, not things that they want to develop. Early and continuous delivery reduces the likelihood of budget overruns and delays. Empower team. Agile promotes self-organizing teams. So the KTs, the learnings that they do, all those things, empower the team. Like they take the ownership. They run these stand-ups. They run these, some of the activities of the Scrum. So that actually makes them like they are part of the team. And transparency. Now in Agile, unlike documentation stored in one secure place, the requirements and everything is there in Agile tools like Kanban boards or sprint backlogs, so like that. This provides a high visibility into the progress for a team and stakeholders. Regular demos, as I told earlier, and reviews keep everyone informed about the project status. So these are the benefits of Agile model. Well, this is all good. So Agile is the thing, right? Not completely. Agile eliminates a lot of problems that waterfall model has, but there are certain aspects that Agile missed out. Let's go through the disadvantages, I won't say disadvantages, I call it as shortcomings of Agile model. Agile do have some shortcomings. The foremost shortcoming is the limited focus on CI/CD. Agile encourages frequent releases but doesn't prescribe continuous integration and continuous delivery. It doesn't talk about anything like how we have to release, how where should be the release should happen. It doesn't say anything about it. It's all left to the developers. Agile doesn't prescribe any guidelines for cloud integration, collaborations, and automated testing. It doesn't talk about automated. It just talks about testing, just similar like waterfall model. And the second disadvantage is, I won't call disadvantage, I will call shortcoming, is limited focus on operations. Well, nowadays, software development is not just one thing. Like if you develop software, just burn it onto a DVD or a CD, give it to the customer. Those days have gone. These have to be put it into a cloud or web, and have to be scaled based on the number of clients getting out of the software, right? So definitely there is need for IT operations team. So no emphasis on limited focus on operations. So Agile model lacks focus on operational aspects like deployment, monitoring, and if let's say that there's a problem in the when it in the production, why it happened, where are the logs needs to be created, how to analyze the logs, these things, it doesn't put a lot of emphasis. Similarly, the next one is no emphasis on addressing siloed team. Well, Agile does focus on collaboration among the dev team, cross-functional team. Devs talk to testers talk to security team and all those things. But the teams like ops team, the completely IT department, it's not software department, right? So it doesn't talk about interaction between dev and ops team. That's a big challenge or a shortcoming of Agile model, because nowadays, as told earlier, it is very, very important to upload the software. Operation team involvement is very important compared to the olden days of where we burn the software into a DVD or put it in a folder and just get it. So that kind of stuff, right? So, and also Agile doesn't talk about how to deploy the product. It could be manual, it could be copy paste and something. It doesn't talk much about manual deployment process. And the next shortcoming is limited emphasis on continuous feedback and production. So let's say these things are going in production. Sometimes some servers are going up and down. It doesn't talk about how to get the feedback from things happening in production. The next is no emphasis on team scalability. Like, it talks about, Agile talks about small teams. It doesn't talk about big teams, only small teams. But what if the project is a very huge project where teams need to talk to other teams? It lacks there. And the next thing that it has got, light focus is inconsistent environment. The major problem is with software development is developer writes his code on his own machine, everything works great. Then he pushes to the production or testing machine, it doesn't work there. So it works on my machine kind of thing that developer says. Agile doesn't talk about how to solve these kind of problems. And also one of the most important thing is security. Agile doesn't give much focus on security. It's part of the developer's problem. Like that, it will use that. So these are the shortcomings that Agile has. Now this is the picture that talks about Agile model, where the shortcoming area is grayed out. You can see that from development, testing, deployment to maintenance. This is the area where there is some gray area for Agile, where it doesn't give any notions on how to handle these kind of stuff, right? So this is how Agile does. Now, how to overcome Agile shortcomings? That's a big question, right? Now, the solution for this is DevOps. Agile with DevOps actually works really great, especially in the modern world where we use cloud and various huge infrastructure. And DevOps can replace the areas where Agile is kind of gray. So this is about enhancing the Agile capability. DevOps is about enhancing the Agile capabilities, so that the weak areas that Agile has are going to be replaced, are going to be fulfilled by DevOps. So what is DevOps? How it works, what are the things that are constitute DevOps, which is going to be in another video, which I will discuss in another presentation. Thank you very much.
Like, share, comment, and subscribe VNR Digital Learning Resource YouTube channel.